I'm very happy that you are here on these days that are very crowded, and a lot of people are not in Paris, and a lot of people are here for tennis. And I'm very, very happy that Mischa Kuball is here and he's joining us tonight. And we were speaking, this, as you all know, this is the group exhibition that I made for celebrate the 25 years of existence of my gallery. And so it was exciting 25 years, of course, and I came across a lot of different art, and I started with photography from the 20s, and now I'm very much involved into contemporary art. And we were speaking by the preparation of this talk tonight about what is the impact and power of art. And Mischa Kuball is somebody who's engaged in art since '77, who is really doing a lot of very interesting public art spaces, who is giving light to things that maybe were a little bit hidden before, with light installations as well. And therefore I'm really very happy that he can speak a little bit about impact and power of art. And I just wanted to point out that this work and the other light box is by Mischa Kuball, and we did in '23, we did a solo exhibition of him here, which was fantastic. So thank you very much, Mischa. And maybe you prepared something for us?
Well, I think first of all we need to say congratulations. It's a quarter of a century, and I think it's still, I mean, you're still there. It's so remarkable. Thank you so much. Congratulations. Yes, so it's also about to celebrate, and I think we have to have positive energy, even if you look at very critical situations right now. You know, just saying something because I'm also joined a set of international podiums and discussions, and I found out it's also giving me a strength and a line of things I wanted to mention. I prepared a very short essay I wanted to share with you for this afternoon. Actually, Michelle and I, we tried to get tickets for Roland Garros, but we failed. That's why I'm sitting here. No, just kidding. But we are still tennis fans. Okay, so the question was, we were just starting the discussion, the capacity of art to change society in these times. I think this is what a lot of artists try to do, and Esther Schalaf-Gerz, I mean, you are a very esteemed colleague, and I know that you are practicing a little bit longer than me, and you know how difficult it is, especially in this period. So for me, art is not a mirror, it is a hammer. And that means that it's a tool which will help to shape the world. And with this statement, famously paraphrased by Bertolt Brecht, that captures actually the heart of what I wanted to explore today with you. The profound capacity of art to change society, especially in these remarkable times. We are living through a period of historical shifts, social, ecological, technological. I think Carl is going to deliver this talk later on about this, especially technological and digital aspects during this second part of this future talk. And this is a time of unrevealing and reimagining. And in the midst of all this, there is this uncertainty. Art does not stand passively aside. I think it intervenes, it proposes, it provokes, it asks us up to stop, to look, to feel, and perhaps maybe to act. A striking example, and I'm trying to bring this here to Paris today, is Joseph Beuys for sure, whose work is in the second half of the 20th century existential. He challenged the boundaries between art and politics and life itself, and Beuys didn't believe that art was confined to museums or galleries. He believed that everyone is an artist and that society itself could be sculpted in a concept he called soziale Plastik. It's very difficult to translate, and I think it speaks for itself. One of the most powerful works, the 7,000 Oaks, was not painting or sculpture in the traditional sense, as you all know, but an ecological and social intervention. Over several years, Beuys, collaborators and his collaborators planted 7,000 trees in Kassel and elsewhere in the world, each paired with a basalt stone. This art was very impressive and important to me. This was an art as action, it was art as healing, and it was art in its time. In the face of ecological degradation and post-war trauma, Beuys proposed that change could be cultivated literally through communal creative effort. I'm very sticking to this idea, to be honest. This idea that art does not simplify, depict reality, but actively participates in its transformation is more relevant today than ever. And here I bring another 2 or 3 artists. Look at Ai Weiwei. I'm not saying it because I'm a fan, but I'm interested in how the energy is transmitted, and his work is really straddling between architecture, installation, and activism. From his massive installation made out of refugee life jackets, which was very much criticized when it happened in Munich, to his outspoken criticism of political oppression, Ai Weiwei reminds us that the artist is not just a commentator, but a witness, and something a target, sometimes a target. His work compels us to confront global inequalities and to ask uncomfortable questions about freedom, migration, and human dignity. And maybe not so famous, but still very efficient is Theater Gates and his group, who revitalizes abandoned buildings on the south side of Chicago and now also in Detroit, and turns them into cultural centers through clay, performance, and urban intervention. I think is a very strong and powerful work he's doing. He fuses beauty and utility. He proves that art can literally rebuild community, restore value, and redistribute access to culture. And even now I want to, shift your focus on a more quieter work, which is Yoko Ono. Her instruction pieces invite the viewer to participate, to complete the work through imagination. She says, quoting, "Whisper your name to a leaf, send it away." These aren't grand political gestures, but they open emotional landscapes, spaces of care, connection, and hope. What unites all these examples, from Beuys to Ai Weiwei to Gates and Yoko Ono, is a shared belief of art, which is not passive. It is relational, dialogical, transformative, and it doesn't wait for change. It initiates it. But let's not romanticize, to be honest. Art alone cannot fix systematic injustice or stop a war. It cannot rebuild polar ice caps or undo centuries of exploitation. But what it can do, however, is shift perception. It can make the invisible visible, the abstract personal, the distant immediate, and from this shift in perception, new possibilities begin. That means that art also offers a space of resistance to oversimplification, to silence, to numbness, in a world dominated by algorithm, speed, and distraction. Art insists on presence. It slows us down. It gives us space to feel complexity, ambiguity, contradiction, and in doing so, it rehumanizes us. In this context, I would mention the last artist I came across doing this research for this afternoon talk, Thomas Hirschhorn. I think he showed across France and specifically in Paris. A Swiss artist known for his radical, socially engaged art. His work is characterized by the use of everyday, low-cost materials such as cardboard, duct tape, plastic wrap, and newspapers. Rather than focusing on traditional aesthetics, Hirschhorn aims to create accessible art that confronts political, philosophical, and social issues. His artistic practice is rooted in participation and direct engagement. He often installs his work in public, marginalized spaces, deliberately placing art outside of institutional settings. A key example is the Gramsci Monument he did 2013 in the Bronx, New York. A temporary public art project that included lectures, discussions, and workshops in a low-income housing area of the forest houses. That's how the commune buildings are called. Hirschhorn's impact on society lies in his commitment to democratization, art, and challenging cultural hierarchies. He describes his method as one of the presence and production, not representation, aiming to create real encounters and experiences. His work provokes thoughts, dialogue, and reflection, emphasizing that art can be a critical tool for social awareness and change. My last thoughts on this. But for art to truly change society, we must also examine who gets to make art, who gets to be seen, who gets to speak. If we speak of transformation, we must speak of equity and access. As Beuys said, to be a teacher is my greatest work of art. If teaching, sharing and including are part of artistic practice, then empowering others becomes an act of creation. So, what does it all mean for us? As artists, creators, collectors, educators, thinkers and citizens. It means embracing the responsibility to engage, to create works that not only reflect the world but reimagine it, works that don't just comfort but confront, that don't offer easy answers but invite difficult conversations. Art will not save the world, for true, but it can change how we see it, and that perhaps is the real changes, where the real changes begins. Not in revolutions, but in revelations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mischa. There's a lot to discuss, but maybe that we can do later. So I want to speak a little bit about art as well, that in regards to several points. So the first one, people that sit here today looking at art, speaking about art, reflecting on art, we are not too born. So we are not engaged in these terrible things that are happening at the moment. So, and it's a lot of very important things that are happening, that art is building communication with nations, with people, with individuals, with different opinions. So this is always a reason why we can come together. And then the other thing what I would like to point out, that was a little bit in this preparation, Karl is very friend with the philosopher Markus Gabriel from Germany. He has made this and he will speak later about it, they're speaking about to create ethics in artificial intelligence, so a product out of this. And I was looking, what did he say about art? And that was really very interesting, because he's very engaged in art as well, and I would like to speak with this about you. So Markus Gabriel, he's born in 1980, he is someone who is in Bonn, the professor, and in Tokyo as well, so he's one of these excellent people in Germany. And Markus Gabriel has highlighted that art is fundamentally autonomous and cannot be reduced to external factors like art market. He believes that art has a structural, ontological power that makes it radically independent. And now to bring this one sentence in different things, art is fundamentally autonomous. This means that art has its own rules, values and meaning independent of anything outside it, such as trends, commercial interest, or even the artist's intentions. For Gabriel, art does not need justification from the outside world, e.g. museums, markets, or politics, to be meaningful. So this, I think, is very interesting, because sometimes you think about, when I see one of these artworks here, what did they see? What did they have impact on people that saw them? So that means there is something which goes beyond all the ideas, what we have, or every person that sees the works, or even what the artist was intending. It has its own life. It's something bigger than that. And I think this is really very interesting to see it in this context. So it cannot be reduced to external factors like the art market. He is saying that the true nature and significance of art do not depend on how much a work sells for, who collect it, or whether it's considered fashionable or profitable. So this is, of course, what we are facing every day. These are external, secondary aspects. They don't define what art is. So this, for sure, is clear. We know all that very high prices are paid for some things which is maybe for the history of art completely irrelevant, and other things that are very, very relevant to the history of art, they don't even find a buyer. So, and I, with my experience of 25 years my own gallery, and then before working as an art consulting, 8 years working in another gallery, a good work of art needs time to be sold, but it will find its place. So it's really its proper place where it should be and where it has an impact on things. So there we are on this upper level. Art has a structural ontological power. So this word ontological, I had a little bit of problems, but here ontological refers to the nature of being or existing. Gabriel argues that art is not just an object or a product, it shapes how we perceive, understand, and experience the world. It has a kind of existential power to generate meaning, challenge assumptions, and reveal truths that cannot be reduced to logic or science. So I think this is something where we all come together in art, that there is something that is going on that we can even explain. We don't have the language for this. We can always try to approach us to these aspects. And so that makes it radically independent. Radically means at the root. So it's very core. Art is independent. It resists being controlled, categorized, or fully understood through external systems, like economic or social frameworks. In short, Gabriel sees art as a powerful, self-standing force that transcends money, trends, and even language. It operates in its own realm of meaning, and that what gives it a unique and irreplaceable role in human life. So I think that's very, very your comment.
I'm not so close to Marcus Gabriel's writing, so for me it's also first time I hear it. Maybe I share it with some of you. But what I hear also is that we use terms, and maybe we need to clarify. If we speak about the art market, we speak about a market which exchanges also knowledge in the first place. I think people, for instance, come to a gallery, go to a museum, go to auctions, go to art fairs, also to get closer to what a time, in a time frame, artists have been working on, how they discuss subjects, how they maybe distance themselves, how they want to have their own refugium, how they want to get involved in very different meanings. And we know that not every artist would claim him or herself to be a political artist. But as we know, looking from the outside, maybe we frame the artwork and the artist as political. So what perspective is correct, or what perspective comes into play, has to do with the time, with the standard and level of discourse. Now we see a lot of exhibitions which are dealing with subjects about race, class, gender. So this is in the topic, and that will also bring works of art from the 1920s, which we almost had forgotten, into the light again. So into our perspective again. Talking, for instance, to Rodchenko, you have this wonderful piece of Rodchenko on the top left from your perspective, I think, which is a wonderful piece of photography, but it stands for a movement which is so much connected to, I would say, something we had also with Russia, with Europa in a certain sense, with the Bauhaus movement. And I know that you are particularly involved in that period. And I think if you look at the Bauhaus, that it was just erected and almost established a year before the First World War finished, and it was in Weimar where we have this. There is a soil of literature, of music, of philosophy, and this is not an accident. I think that was the right time and the right moment for the right place, and the right people were there to think into the future. And if we claim this a future talk, we have to go beyond that what we see today. But all we do now is projection. So we are thinking into something we don't know, but that is how our life works. We do not have an answer at hand, and we need to take the risk. And I think to learn from artists, from my perspective, not just as an artist, but on the way to become and work as an artist, is a learning, a procedure by people who have taken risks. And it's interesting that, for instance, Tristan Tzara at one point committed to take a boat and leave, let's say, the strand and the banks and disappear in the waters. And Vanya Skarbek did it 50 years later, just in 33. We just saw the exhibition of his work in Hamburg Kunsthalle, and I think it shows artists, and I think you mentioned that artists who are not claiming to be successful in terms of budget or money in the art market, but they are important because they deal with very substantial and very fragile subjects. And I think we need this ambivalence between what we think is like confirmed or maybe common sense, and we need the radical voices which maybe never reach the art market.
Yeah, so it's very interesting to think about all these subjects, but then I was working a little bit as well on art, what makes art in general with us, and for example, this communication aspect is very important, that this art can give identity and can give like resilience as well in different times. So all these aspects, and we know now these days we are looking more at the global south or as Asian cultures, what they are doing, and I think that the art world has become so much globally and so interesting globally, and now in this time when now this nationality ideas coming up again, art can really be in its general something that is very political and very engaging. And I would like to speak with you about your works now, because I think this is a very interesting subject as well. So what is an artist, and how can we define an artist, and how is the perception of an artist? So we have this work here by Emil Nolde. Emil Nolde, as you all know, is a very important German artist. And through research, it was clear, or maybe you will tell the story.
Well, I know that most of you are familiar with this, let's say, mixed biography of Emil Nolde, that he was, during the wartime, he was trying to be accepted by the Nazi regime. He was writing personal letters to Goebbels and also to Hitler himself. As you know, Hitler was rejected from the art academy, and so he had a certain passion on culture, and he had an idea how art should represent, let's say, the ideological phenomena he had in mind for the so-called new society of the Third Reich. So Nolde was trying to be accepted. At the same time, he was taking benefit from being an artist who has been banned. He was not shown in exhibitions at the same time. But that was a very personal taste factor. A degenerated artist, and he was also being shown as a degenerated artist. At the same time, he was trying to be accepted. So he had a kind of a very mixed situation. But to be honest, that is a very personal aspect. But here the market, in a way, I mean, if market means also exhibition, the 1955 documenta founded in that time, so he was invited to the first documenta, and the guy who was in charge, Mr. Huffman, was choosing Nolde as part of a degenerated artist. And when he was being put in the show, Nolde was still alive. He died in 56. So the selection of artists included him and others to represent something which was banned in the Nazi regime, but at the same time, they took the artist Levi, who was also in Italy, in the same building was Huffman. He was rejected. So Rudolf Levi was penciled out, really physical, penciled out from the artist list of the first documenta. So there was a second degeneration and a second ban and a second artistic genocide happening there. So it is really interesting that, especially with Nolde, people love his color, the way he looks at figures, he looks at landscape. And when Anja Solker and Bernhard Fulde were doing this legendary show in 2019 for Hamburger Bahnhof, where they did a 5 years research on the letters and all this information behind Nolde, they also found out that the auction prices were still going up. So to know about, let's say, a twisted and very problematic history of the artist doesn't kill the art prices. And there's much more to say about it. But what I did, and this is why we're pointing out on this right light box, I was looking at his ethnological collection, 453 objects, Actually, he was hiding them from the public. He was only displaying it for himself, studio, and in one of his 5 homes in Berlin. And he did this because already in 1912, so even before the Nazi regime came into power, there was Karl-Heinz Osshaus doing a Nolde exhibition with 4 paintings, and Karl-Heinz Osshaus, as a curator of the show in Hagen, was putting 4 masks from Oceania next to the paintings. And this was told to Nolde, and Nolde was writing a letter to the director to remove the masks. He doesn't want to see that where he took his inspiration, where he took his characteristic forms. And he was privileged, he could travel, he had a large collection. In 1913, 1914, he was on a boat trip with a team of medical searchers to Papua New Guinea. And I think he took everything from everywhere, but he wanted to hide this, and he wanted to be, for sure, disconnected to the sources of the other cultures. And that's why I put these figures integrated into a glass vitrine, also to see that it is appearing in a daily life context. So that's why this is in connection to the volume. It's great that you bring this up.
So now we can think about this beautiful work by Emil Nolde. This is this is harmed by the story now. No? So this is the schizophrenia that we're facing as well. No? So it's a beautiful work, but okay, that's it. How it is. Yeah, maybe just to finish this a little bit, I have some more sentence about the impact and the power of art. So social impact. Art is a powerful instrument of social commentary and activism, giving voice to marginalized communities and inspiring collective action for justice and reform. Emotional and psychological power. Art has the unique ability to evoke deep emotional responses and facilitate psychological healing, making it an essential tool for personal growth and mental health. Cultural preservation. Through visual, musical, and literary form, arts preserves cultural heritage, allowing traditions, values, and histories to be passed down through generations. Political influence. Art can challenge authority and question the status quo, making it a potent force in political resistance and revolution. Educational role. Art enhances cognitive development, critical thinking, and empathy, making it a vital component of holistic education. Universal language. Art transcends language and cultural barriers, creating shared human experiences that foster global understanding and connection. Innovation and creativity. By encouraging imagination and challenging norms, art drives innovation and inspires new ways of thinking in science, technology, and everyday life. Identity and self-expression. Art allows individuals to explore, assert, and communicate their identities, offering a safe space for self-discovery and expression. Economic influence. The art industry contributes significantly to economic development, supporting creative economies, tourism, and job creation. Historical record. Art serves as a visual and emotional record of history, reflecting the values, struggles, and triumphs of past society in ways that words alone cannot combine. So we know now why art is so important to all of us, no? And thinking about these times, looking into the future, so we have now to identify what is the next step in art, because I think art is more needed than ever. It's a big word, but especially in these times, it's very important to be engaged. And I thank very much all the artists, Mischa Kuball, but Esther, and you stand now for all the other ones, the million of artists that are in the world that every day do something and that bring often really much light into our life. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Maybe this last this light box also stands for this. J'éclaire, and it's Voltaire, and it's interesting that we have this in this exhibition because it's in an ambivalent situation. It shows our demands and it shows that how difficult it is to fulfill this expectation. So what we see by all this effort is black light, and I don't know if this is helpful for our navigation for the future, but we will see. Looking forward to the next part of the discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So I propose we have a little pause now and then we continue, or would you like to continue immediately? Yeah? Okay.